Hello and welcome back to another episode of WJ Live, powered by The Western Journal. I'm George Upper, Editor-in-Chief of The Western Journal, reminding you as always to click that subscribe button and the bell next to it so you never miss an episode of WJ Live, where you'll always get truth about the news of the day from America's largest and most influential Christian and conservative publisher of news and commentary, The Western Journal. On today's show, business and big tech reporter Eric Nanneman making his debut appearance on WJ Live. We'll be talking about everyone's favorite Memorial Day travel topic, gas prices, and how they're being affected by the Biden administration's energy policies. In addition, a new Quinnipiac poll, sorry, I forgot who it was for a second, a new Quinnipiac poll out today finds that 66% of Republicans want to see another Trump presidential run in 2024. We'll review comments made this week by the former president himself about a potential 2024 run for the White House. But first, the current occupant of the White House, Mr. Joseph Biden, has come under fire for refusing to pursue sanctions against the companies involved in Russia's Nord Stream 2 pipeline. He doubled down on that decision this week, though, Joey.
He sure did. If you guys remember, on the first day of Joe Biden's presidency, he issued an executive order canceling the construction of the Keystone Pipeline, which would have came down from Canada into the United States, would have brought, I think, hundreds of thousands of barrels of oil every single day in the United States, supported over 10,000 American jobs, and he nixed it on day one. Now we come a little over 100 days into Biden's presidency, and what is he doing? He's supporting a pipeline, a Russian-owned pipeline that's going to go through some areas in Europe. And so he's fine with Russian pipelines, but he's not fine with Canadian and American pipelines. So I want to show you guys a video quick of Joe Biden doubling down on his stance and his ridiculous reasoning for it.
Why have you decided to meet with President Putin? And why are you letting Germany and Russia to continue building Nord Stream 2?
Because it's almost completely finished, number one. The idea that anything that, and it's not like I can allow Germany to do something or not. I have been opposed to Nord Stream 2 from the beginning, but it only has, it's almost completed by the time I took office. And to go ahead and impose sanctions now would, I think, be counterproductive in terms of our European relations. They know how strongly I feel, and I hope we can work on how they handle it from this point on.
Wow. So make no mistake, after seeing that, Joe Biden is anti-American, anti-American worker. It's quite disturbing. So Biden says his reasoning for canceling it is it would be counterproductive, that it would hurt European relations. Do you guys remember when he canceled the Keystone Pipeline? Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau came out and condemned it. It hurt U.S.-Canadian relations, which arguably is one of the most important relationships that America has. They're our northern neighbors. We have a lot of trade with them. The Keystone Pipeline would have been a great addition.
They are America's hat.
Yeah, they are.
And it doesn't get much closer than that.
So Biden's concerned about relations with Russia and damaging those relations. And he said, I don't want to cancel it because it's almost complete. Remember, the Keystone Pipeline was almost complete. It was under construction, supporting thousands of American jobs, all kinds of union workers being employed by this project. Biden canceled it. He didn't care about it being counterproductive to America and Canada, but he cared about it being counterproductive to Russia. So, why do you guys think Biden is fine with canceling the Keystone Pipeline, but he's not fine with imposing sanctions on a Russian pipeline? What do you think?
It's interesting. What's most troubling about this tack that Biden is taking is the message it sends to Russia. Mm-hmm. Under Obama, when Russia invaded Ukraine and took over Crimea, what was the American response? Senate passed sanctions, but Obama was pretty silent on the whole issue.
Yep.
Right.
There's this kind of like this mentality that we don't want to get Russia too angry. The problem with that, as speaking from a parent, if you don't discipline a spoiled child regularly, that tantrum gets worse and worse, and then you really have to break down the belt.
Right.
Nobody wants a war here, right? The way you avoid a war is having pressure put on state actors who are not acting the way the entire international community wants us to. So this whole pipeline blows my mind that he's willing to anger 11,000 Americans who lost their jobs and countless jobs that are supported by the pipelines when we already have 1.3 million miles of pipeline in the ground today.
Right.
Yeah.
The XL pipeline, I think I heard around 4 to 5,000 miles in total, a drop in the bucket towards pipelines that are already in the ground today. They don't want, so he's fine to anger thousands of Americans, but he doesn't want to anger the Russians.
Yeah. The other thing is the hypocrisy here from an environmental standpoint. It sort of implies that it's okay for European pipelines to exist as opposed to Americans, as if the pipelines run by the Russians are going to be less given to spills or accidents, or because we all know the Russian reputation for manufacturing quality. And not to mention their highly efficient environmental regulations. It's ridiculous. It makes sense in every way, even environmentally, given the fact that pipelines are going to exist. Okay, if they are going to exist, it makes much more sense for those pipelines to exist in the U.S. than they do in Europe, and particularly when they're being put there by Russians. By any metric, by literally any metric. This is just Joe Biden. I mean, I'd have to go back to my my regular WJ Live question: Is Joe Biden being is he being stupid, or is he being dishonest? And I'm glad I'm not going to ask that question this week, because I don't know that I could choose between those two.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Before Joe Biden, America was in a place where we were energy independent. We were energy dominant in the world.
Yep.
And we're now moving away from that. The Keystone Pipeline would have helped us keep achieving that goal and expanding upon it. And now, instead, Joe Biden is going to support Russian jobs and the Russians dominating the gas and energy market in Europe. That just seems so wrong to me. It's such a huge difference from Trump, who was so America first. America mattered the most, American jobs, American energy, American economy. And Joe Biden is showing it's not America first. It's Russian first. There's no doubt Joe Biden is a globalist. And this is a massive anti-American move. So why do you guys think he's just so willing to hurt Canadian relationships, but not hurt the relationship with Russia? What do you think? Why is he willing to sacrifice that relationship with Canada?
Well, sounds like a conspiracy to me. I think we should have a special prosecutor appointed
Yes.
to investigate links between Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin. Honestly, I don't know what he's thinking. The idea that sanctions would be counterproductive somehow because the pipeline is so far along. I mean, okay, at what point would they have been productive then? It just that statement just doesn't make any sense to me.
I agree.
The point of the sanctions is not really to prevent the pipeline from being built. It's to punish the people who are doing it. Just like look, if it has the effect of eliminating it from being built, okay, so much the better. But generally speaking, that's not how that works. Generally speaking, we don't punish people to prevent them from committing crimes. We punish them after they've committed it. Biden's thinking on this is I can't fathom. I just can't fathom it. Canada is a valued ally, as much as Trudeau drives me bonkers sometimes, and drives much of Canada bonkers, as far as I can tell. We share thousands and thousands of miles of border. We have many common interests internationally. I often call Canada America's hat, but part of what I'm implying there is the closeness of the relationship. Generally speaking, what's good for America is good for Canada, and vice versa. And Joe Biden just doesn't seem to care. Even as a globalist, why is he a globalist with Russia but not with Canada?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense to me either, unless he really unless he has an actual desire to see American prominence in energy diminished. Mm-hmm. If that's his real desire, then this makes sense. It's the only situation that makes any sense to me in this.
Yeah, and the thing that kind of gets to me is the hypocrisy of the whole administration, right? So you have former Secretary John Kerry, who's been Biden is named the special envoy of the environment. Not sure what that
We need
means.
more envoys. We need more special
That's what
envoys.
that means.
Czars, more czars.
Yeah, exactly.
And his comments after the pipeline was canceled was that, well, those workers can just go into make solar panels.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And as we look,
Learn the code.
and as I've looked into the industry of solar panels, the number one component used in solar panels is called polysilicate. China makes 45% of the world's polysilicate, and do you know who makes the polysilicate within China? Uyghurs. And
Oh, wow.
2.3 million Uyghurs are enslaved. Now, it's been a while since I've taken an economics class, but if you have an American worker competing against a slave, I'm not
gonna be
certain how that
economically. That's
Yeah,
gonna be a
I mean,
tough
I don't want to
battle.
make a judgment call.
Yeah, that does seem hard to compete with.
But it's just, how could you go in and make a statement like that about solar panels, knowing darn well the international outcry on the Uyghurs that are being
Right.
tortured and enslaved in China to make your solar panels?
It's dumb or dishonest. It goes back to the perennial question about liberals on the show. Are they dumb? Are they really ignorant and don't see all those connections? Or are they just being dishonest with the American people and, pretending those connections don't exist?
Question for the ages.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine.
It's also fascinating to me. Joe Biden has faced so much criticism over his relations with China and Russia leading up to him winning the presidency. You would think he would want to diminish some of those rumors and questions, and then he makes moves like this that just make people wonder, like, well, what is he hiding? What is going on? And then you guys remember the pipeline attack just a couple of weeks ago.
Sure.
That was done by Russian hackers, and Biden's response sucked on it. They did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. They couldn't answer questions about it. They didn't do anything to help solve the situation or relieve the gas shortage. They did nothing. So, what is Biden's agenda here? It's very alarming. And I think just the first 100 days of Joe Biden's presidency has been a complete and utter disaster. And one of those things that is very apparent to all of us when we go to the gas station to fill up our cars is rising gas prices.
Unless you have a
just been-
$60,000 electric car.
Yes,
Then,
yes.
That's a different.
Joe Biden says if you drive a $60,000 electric car, you don't have to worry about gas prices.
Then you're fine.
Then you're fine.
You got to worry about your car payment.
Yes.
But you don't have to worry about gas prices.
I'm thinking about putting an order for that new F-150 electric.
That thing is pretty cool, yeah.
But
You keep thinking.
I need a raise, George. Eric, do you want to tell us more about that?
So again, speaking of pipelines and Biden, liberal energy policies is bringing the return of Obama-era gas prices, where we see gas prices at the highest on record since 2014, the last time Biden was in office. So we're looking at $3.03 a gallon nationwide. California's $4.27, New York's $3.08. More of the redder states, of course, are a lot less. But
Partly because taxes are lower in those red states.
Thank you very much.
That accounts for some of it, at least.
And we're still seeing shortages. Gas stations are still closed throughout the Southeast because of the Colonial pipeline hack. And but that really speaks to a larger issue on inventories. Bloomberg pointed out that the inventories around Chicago and Minneapolis are the lowest they've seen since 1992. And around New York and Philadelphia, it's the lowest gasoline inventory on record since for 7 years, the past 7 years. Wow. So there's a real critical mass coming up here where you think prices are bad now, just wait till the end of the summer. So what's driving that, right? So we've had, for the last 10 years, we've been pretty energy efficient, especially after 2017. 2017, coincidentally enough, marked the first time America beat Saudi Arabia in the amount of oil produced.
Right.
And ever since then, we've been going off like a rocket ship. Why is that? Well, a lot of looser environmental laws to allow more fracking, and a heck of a lot more pipeline being built. We talked about the 1.3 million pipelines in the ground today. Well, 33,000 of those miles came under the Trump administration, which allowed a lot more oil to flow freely, more inexpensively, which basically ends up at our pump a lot cheaper. Now we see actions like the Keystone Pipeline being cut down, other requirements, more taxes that are squeezing the already tight supplies, and it's kind of critical. So it's where are we headed? I guess is my first question. It's so with a lot fewer pipelines coming in the next couple of years, Joey. What do you think that bodes for the larger economy?
Well, I have a funny story. I was in California over the weekend. and I just want to share with you what gas prices were there. I had to take a picture because it was so insane. Regular was $4.70 a gallon.
Wow.
Took a picture of it in California over
That's
the
a
weekend.
really good reason not to go
Yeah.
to California.
Yes.
I mean, if you needed
yeah.
another one.
So it's just insane. So, but the path we're going down just isn't sustainable.
Right.
It's not. If you're rich, it's fine. If you can buy an electric car, it's fine. But if you're regular people, like the majority of Americans are, probably the majority of people that voted for Joe Biden, I'm not sure how you survive Joe Biden's America. I mean, with all the cash that we have pumped into the economy through these economic stimulus payments, I didn't need a stimulus payment. I haven't been out of work for the past year, but I got one. And then we paid people to stay home. We gave them an extra $300 every week. And then we have disastrous job reports. We wonder why no one's going back to work, and we have rising inflation. It's not good. And higher gas prices hit poor Americans the hardest. Rising food prices hit poor Americans the hardest. Rising home prices hit middle-class Americans the hardest. So yeah, I think we're headed down a terrible path that the middle class is going to bear the brunt of in America. It's bad.
Prices for goods and services, as you guys know, are all based on the components of
Yeah.
those things,
Yeah,
right? What are the ingredients cost? What's the labor cost? What is the energy cost? And what makes it particularly problematic is that energy underlies every single one of those,
Yeah,
right?
great point.
Rising energy prices increase my commute expense, which means I need, I'm now looking for relief in my wages from my employer so that I can afford, I drive 3 miles to work, so I'm a bad example, but I could walk if I really needed to. But, hypothetically, that's true. Even if you're taking an Uber or taking public transportation, all of those things depend on energy.
Yeah.
Every ingredient, every component, every widget that gets added to anything, energy goes into the creation of those things. And so not only does rising energy cost affect all of those things individually, they rise to a level where every component gets a higher price. All of those components go into that final good or service that goes to the consumer.
Yep.
And the consumer is the one who's really paying through the nose for this Biden policy. So, you asked what does this bode for the larger economy? Nothing good. I think it bodes pretty well for Republicans in 2022 and 2024.
Yeah.
But for the economy, I'm very nervous. I know a number of large financial advisor firms. My wife's a financial advisor, so I'm always involved in these talks. Are saying next year, basically, it was probably strong enough to get us through 2021, but 2022 is looking ugly. So,
wow,
we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely, and it boggles my mind about how much of the economy, as you said, rests upon energy and energy prices and drive every aspect of the cost of doing business in America. But if you think about middle America, the moderates of middle America, the people, more purple people,
Yep.
we're speaking from a conservative voice, for conservative heart, reaching out to them, because they definitely see two wide strings of the spectrum. You have Sarah Palin saying, "Drill, baby, drill."
Right.
And you have Senator Gornberg saying, "How dare you?"
You're right.
Yeah.
How do we reach middle America? What's the intelligent middle path to walk to kind of reach out to middle America to change the hearts and minds that energy is important, but yet we don't want to turn every single forest into a coal mine?
Right.
George, what do you think?
It's, the problem with that kind of messaging on this kind of subject is it's so complex. The issue is so complex. And it's hard without taking 45 minutes, to do some, PragerU energy economy explainer video that nobody will sit and watch because
Right.
it's 45 minutes long. It's hard to really go into that level of detail that makes it useful. I think we do need to find some very simple talking points that are, easy to understand, easy to remember. Talking points about the safety of the energy industry in the U.S., particularly as opposed to other countries.
Sure.
I mean, the idea of, do you want oil being drilled because it's not a question of, is oil going to be drilled?
Right.
Oil's going to be drilled. That's resolved.
Where's it better to drill?
Where's it going to be drilled? Where's it better for it to be drilled? Is it better for those to be American jobs? Is it better for the environment if American companies with American safety records are engaged in that drilling? And I honestly, I don't know the answer to that question. I can guess at what I think it is, but I don't know for sure. But I'm not an energy expert. But the other thing too is, and my answer to everything, the government just needs to get out of this industry. The government, there's so many things the government needs to just take its hands off of, and energy is one of them. There's a minimal level of government involvement that I do think is important because energy is such an issue regarding national security. That I think there's some level of involvement that the federal government needs to have there to protect the country and keep energy sources safe. And then that's it. Then get out. Be done. I'll bet, who was it that advocated for the elimination of the energy department completely? I can't even remember who it was. A Republican presidential candidate within the past 3 cycles or so. Regardless of that, it was the governor of Texas. I can see him and I can't think of his name. No. Rick Perry.
Oh, Rick
Oh,
Perry.
yeah.
He was Trump's energy guy, right?
He was.
Yeah.
He just advocated for the entire doing away with the energy department. I would not probably go that far, but I would probably cut its budget about 95%.
Yeah.
And I think that could only help. I've never seen where spending more money in the government in any industry or area has helped. So maybe we should, for once in our flippin' lives, try spending less money on it and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most Americans agree that they're better at spending their own money than having the government spend it for them.
Yeah, 100%.
I think something conservatives need to message, and we haven't done a good job at this. We have let the left take over the environmental message, and that they are the ones that care about the environment, and the right hates the environment. The right needs to remember that we're the party of Teddy Roosevelt, that conserved land and created national parks and have been stewards of the land. The left, where does most of the left live? They live in big cities,
right,
with lots of
That's
pollution,
the important thing.
where the environment is destroyed. Where is the environment most taken care of? Well, go to the red states, go to Alaska, go to Montana, go to Colorado is still pretty conservative. Go to Arizona. Arizona has thousands of acres of national forests, millions of acres. And the blue states are the ones that are polluted, dirty, and they destroy the environment. The right, as conservatives, we like to conserve, and that doesn't mean just values or low taxes. That means conserving and protecting the environment and being good stewards of the environment. And we need to message that. And another thing I think we need to message is the going back to pipelines is the safety of pipelines.
Yes.
What are the alternatives to pipelines? We have trucks carrying oil that can get in accidents. Do you guys remember? I think it was in Texas. There was it a train that blew up?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Right after the Keystone cancellation.
Yes, and so we need to expose those environmental dangers with alternatives to pipelines. Pipeline is the safest way to transport fuel, to transport oil and other materials in America. And so, like I said, I just think that conservatives need to not be afraid to take on that environmental issue, that we are good stewards of the environment and we will protect it while also looking out for America's energy interests, because the two go hand in hand. And you can be a good steward of the environment while also using its resources to benefit your country. Tucker Carlson always says something, maybe you should start treating your country more like your family. We have to think about the interests of America. And so when there's a way to protect the environment while using its natural resources and helping the rest of America. So I think it's a GOP messaging thing that we have sucked on for so long.
You're right. Hunters like to say that they were the original conservationists. I'm old enough to remember when we used to call it conservationism, not environmentalism. That's absolutely true. I mean, the last thing a hunter wants to do is see their hunting areas, their game, any of that depleted and no longer around. So the people who hunt actually have, go figure, they have a vested interest, a personal interest in seeing this happen. People who live and work inside the Beltway 24/7 have never been to Montana, have never been to Arizona, have never been to North Carolina. They have no personal interest in it. And our founders actually were very clever and careful. When they wrote the Constitution, they tried to build in all of these areas where each of us would be working in our areas of personal interest and would also be helping the greater good, would also be helping society. And liberals see that as conflict. They don't see that as possible. They don't see that as something that can be joined together. But as I said earlier, I think there are going to be significant consequences for some of these policies in 2022. At least I hope there are. And 2024. This week, speaking of 2024, I mentioned a little bit earlier the Quinnipiac poll that said 66% of Republicans want to see Trump run again. Trump showed up on Dan Bongino's new radio program, just launched this Monday. He got an exclusive interview with Trump. You guys, I'm sure, remember during the campaign, Bongino would say something or another, and Trump would sometimes retweet him, or he got his attention anyway. And of course, Bongino took the opportunity to ask whether President Trump was considering a 2024 run. That interview aired Monday. In typical fashion, because remember, whatever else Trump is, he is a marketer. You got to remember that first and foremost. That's his first core competency is marketing. Trump's answer really teased listeners concerning another presidential run, but we've got that video for you here.
Just finally, I'd be remiss. The audience is dying to hear it. I know you've been asked 1,000 times. Forgive me, but I have to ask, where are we with 2024? We need you, man. We need you big time. You thinking about it? Are you leaning one way? We'd love to hear it.
Well, I'll tell you what, we are going to make you very happy, and we're going to do what's right, and we've done a great job for the country. We rebuilt our military and had the greatest economy ever twice. We rebuilt it, then the world collapsed the whole world collapsed with it, and then we built it again where the stock market was higher than it was even the first time. But we're going to do the right thing.
We're going to do the right thing. We're going to make people very happy. It was an answer that wasn't really an answer, of course. That was Monday. Today, Quinnipiac came out with the poll claiming 66% of Republicans want Trump to run again. But get this number, a whopping 85% of Republicans polled want candidates who, quote, mostly agree with Trump. So the Trump fingerprint is all over this party. Now, I should note that the poll was of about 1,300 adults, not registered voters, not likely voters, just adults. But still, those are huge gaps. Those are huge numbers. So, gentlemen, what do you think? It's kind of two questions, but we'll make it a two-part. We'll make it one question in two parts. Is Trump going to run again in 2024? And maybe more importantly, should he? Eric, what do you think?
Well, I think the first question is, a lot of people would like to see him in a jail cell, right? So as long as that doesn't happen, I think 100% he's going to run again in 2024. Okay. Should he? I'm a numbers guy, and I can't argue with the results. NASDAQ, over the course of his 4 years, rose 24%, the highest of any president in the history of NASDAQ. Briefly, Obama was 18.38%, and during George Bush's 8 years, he actually went down 7%. Yeah. Of course, that was with the 2008 recession.
Yeah, it was mostly that last year.
We'll give him a pass for that. Yeah. But his policy, his hardness on China specifically, China has emerged as the number one threat to American security. Trump was very hard, very consistent. We talk about a lack of consistent pressure that Biden is putting on Russia. We didn't see that with Trump in China. Those kind of policies, those two big things, the economics policy that he had and his pressure on China, I think are win-wins for us, as far as I'm concerned.
Joey?
I think
Willie and should he?
I think there's no doubt he's going to run. Trump, we got to remember his ego. Trump has a massive ego. He can't stand losing. He's 100% going to run.
I don't think you can run for president without having a pretty massive ego,
I agree.
That's pretty universal.
I think yes. So I think he's going to definitely run again. Should he? I'm on the no side of this. I don't think he should run again. I think a Trump-like candidate should run again, which I see in Ron DeSantis, who I think is actually a much, much better candidate than Trump. DeSantis is more conservative than Trump. He is just as America first. He hits all the same policy and messaging that Trump does. But I think he goes even further, and he does it in a way that is not so brash, and just sometimes Trump just is off-putting in some things he says, but DeSantis still has that energy and that style, while I think also articulating himself better. So my preferred situation would be a DeSantis 2024 run with an America First message, a pro-family message, a no illegal immigration, tough on China, low taxes. But there's no doubt that Trump's, especially his 2016 message, that's the future of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like Marco Rubio's or anyone like that anymore. It is like Ron DeSantis, Trump style people who are going to be the future of the GOP. And that's who wins elections. No one wants to elect a Mitt Romney or a George Bush anymore. Those people are done.
Mitt Romney probably wants to elect a Mitt Romney.
Yes,
There's
he would
probably
like
one
to.
guy,
But
one guy out there.
I think that side of the party is dead, and the America First, pro-America, anti-China, pro-family, traditional conservative party is the party of the future. And I think Ron DeSantis is that leader.
Yeah, so I'm going to agree and disagree with both of you and answer my own question. I don't think Trump is going to run again. It's my personal opinion. And I kind of don't think he should, but for a different reason than you. Because I agree completely with all the reasons he should that you said, Eric. For me, it is an age issue. It is, he seems to be in very good health. He has a lot of energy, seems to, at any rate. But at some point... At some point, you should stop being king and start thinking yourself as a kingmaker, right?
Yeah.
If Donald Trump can, whether it's DeSantis, there are some other, I think, decent possibilities out there. I do like DeSantis. But if he can find it in himself to sit back, say, no, that's my guy. Yeah. He's the guy or gal, whatever. I think that person has a very good shot at winning. I think they certainly, based on these numbers, assuming these numbers are even close to right, they will have the primary, without question. And then it just becomes, are they up against a Joe Biden or a Kamala Harris in 2024? And based on the other things we've talked about today, I don't think they're going to have much of a record to run on.
No joke.
That's at least what I think is going to happen. But, who knows? But here's an interesting final point I wanted to make. This Quinnipiac poll showing Republicans favoring Trump by a 2-to-1 margin, barely showing up in the establishment media at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
The Hill covered it, and CNBC, I love this, CNBC covered some of the responses to other questions in the poll.
But not the main one.
They did not mention Donald Trump at all. They did not say his name.
They're afraid of
That's
him.
literally all the coverage of this poll I could find.
Wow.
Were those two. Now, it came out today, so, maybe there's some folks working on stories on it. I don't know. But that's not how I'd bet if I were a betting man. Look, if you've been watching WJ Live or reading Western Journal for very long, that won't surprise you. We've talked over and over again about suppression of the truth by big tech and the establishment media. We've done it for years. I've written extensively on the subject. It's out of the shot now, but even one of my headlines is on the wall behind Joey, kind of. There we go.
Right
nice
there.
work, Logan. That story, some of the research on that story was actually cited in congressional testimony a few years back. And I was a very small part of that story, actually. There was a lot of research that went into it that I had little to do with. So this is not me bragging on me. This is me bragging on the Western Journal and the influence that we have and the importance of getting truth out there. If you're as sick of this big tech suppression, this mainstream media suppression as we are, then join the Western Journal today in our fight to get the truth out. It's easy and it's cheap. It's even cheaper than usual right now. Go to westernjournal.com/join, westernjournal.com/join, and become a member today. I won't go into details because you can see them all there, and it's a real easy website to remember, westernjournal.com/join. I will say this. We are today running a Memorial Day sale that you don't want to miss. You can become a member for under $5 a month. I mean, it's nothing. Again, it's westernjournal.com/join. Look, we need you in this fight. And the good news is it's never been easier for you to join us. So come do that. And with that, we must say adieu. We say adieu a lot around here because we're very fancy. We're very, very fancy people. We will be here to bring you the truth every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. See, K-Kunk, I can do that, right? Including Memorial Day. We will be here on Monday, Memorial Day. We hope to see you again next time on WJ Live. Thanks, and stay safe.
Hey guys, huge story. We need a fresh card. Let's red label it. Roll as fast as we can.
All right, on it. That's good. All right, guys, we got a red label breaking story. Can we get a picture for that? And can we try to get that out in the next 20 minutes? I want eyes on it as soon as possible.
On it, Joe. 2 more minutes and we'll be live.
Sam, we're going to need a slot for that story, so figure out what you want to bump. Ashley, we're going to want to translate it into Spanish yesterday.
Sí, señor. We can slide it in at 2:30. It should be going out here in about 10 minutes.